Okay, hi, host Eric here. I have a problem. I'm watching this video, and there are too many crippled fat deer, crippled fat geriatric deer, stumbling in front of me. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to thin the herd. Okay, so look, here's the problem with this mystical crap, this Eastern mystical crap. Okay, let me explain why it's complete fucking bullshit. Number one, its core claim is that it removes one from the burdens of frameworks. It doesn't use that language, but that's its core claim. It's saying you don't have to experience existence through any framework. You can abolish the self, grind it into dust, such that your experiential oneness with existence transcends the individual ego, which is an illusion anyway. When you face this particular kind of feces, what do you do with it? How do you throw it away safely? What's the hazmat approach? Okay? So, this is a particularly smelly kind of feces. What it says is that humans can exist in a state of consciousness that doesn't have to prioritize anything. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. They're saying, oh, don't worry, we can push both sides of the teeter-totter down. Well, you can, but then you won't go anywhere, right? Because you'll both be flat and even, exactly even. Nobody will move. If you push them both down hard enough, right, then you break the teeter-totter in half. So here's the fundamental problem of the oneness model. First and foremost, we know it runs counter to any intuitive understanding of reality that we have. We know that the people who are advocating that if I get so mad at host UB for his wrongness that I punch Trenton in the face, that's not the same thing, right? That UB would be appalled because I had subjected somebody to physical violence, but Trenton would probably be more mad because he'd realize that he wasn't the one who pissed me off. I'd be the most mad because I don't use these for anything but playing guitar. So that's never going to happen. Instead, what I do is I have my verbal fists. And right now, they want to make sure that these particular bad arguments are dead, so that they never get up again to annoy me again. Now, here's why it's complete bullshit. Number one, no human being can exist without framing. They have to prioritize some manner of cognition, even if it's the frame of no frame. Keep in mind, the amount of attention these individuals are giving to the notion that they can go through life without a frame, without even recognizing that itself is a framing, boggles the mind. How much time, Yubi, have you spent talking about this with yourself and reading about it and thinking about it? Did it ever occur to you? Your experience is not, okay, look, you say, well, you wouldn't know, you haven't experienced it. I have experienced it. As I said in the thing, right? I explained to you exactly the circumstance in which I was doing maximum spiritual practice and understanding what that oneness felt like. Understanding that sense of community, understanding the sense of friend among equals, and a peacefulness about me. But you know what happens when you prioritize that too much? You start making bad arguments. And you know what happens with bad arguments? They go into the trash incinerator. So, enlightenment is complete bullshit. Anytime anybody tells you that, know that they're talking bullshit. They're saying, look, I'm existing without a frame. Amidst their framing. They say, well, no, but I'm not thinking anything. My head's empty. That's a fucking framework, morons. Jesus Christ. You think you're not prioritizing something? Think you're prioritizing nothing? You have tools to use. Now, the least ethical position you can possibly have is the destruction of the self. Because one, the destruction of the self metaphysically means I'm no longer a moral agent. I'm just acting by the impulses of determinism and my my weird moral glow that I suppose everybody's supposed to trust, it dictates your behavior. Well, don't worry, Eric. We're not going to do anything. Okay, so you're useless. You're useless and you're denying your own accountability. Great, thanks. Just what we need. A bunch of fucking useless monks denying their own accountability. Oh, no, they're not denying their accountability, Eric. Look at the Vietnam War. They lit themselves on fire. That's not something to be proud of. Why don't you light the enemy on fire, for Christ's sakes? Because that's not spiritual, Eric. Right, well, that's just a framework. The thing I fucking hate about spiritualists and mysticists and people who ascribe to Eastern, bells and whistles and fucking incense and little dongs and shit and think it's magic is, it is anathema to individualism, right? And that's the only proven thing that actually frees people and liberates people and causes them to be happier, healthier, wealthier. Your Buddhist monks would have lived in Buddhist monk times forever and never gotten any medicine, never learned dentistry, and the teeth aches, they just yank them out. Oh no, they would have perfect teeth because they would spend all their time focusing on themselves and their spirituality. Right, that's what made them so useless. That's not the way to self-development, okay? The way to self-development is this. It's called the path of the warrior. You subject yourself and all other ideas to full frontal fuck you. And then you come out the other side with something akin to enlightenment. Now, I'm not there yet. And enlightenment means you never lose any arguments. That's a real, defined, meaningful enlightenment. What you have are a bunch of shitty arguments in your hands smelling like dead fish.